20 years ago, I tried to write this book and this chapter on account and finance. I was ambitious. I had gotten lots of experience, and back then also I was very creative. However, despite putting 6 months and thousands of pages, I realized that my work was of very poor quality. At the age of 30, I did not have enough knowledge, and back then writing technology was limited to word processing. But as I'm about to complete this chapter, I just realized that a seed that I had planted back then has now blossomed and is producing remarkable fruits. I was always an eclectic. At that time, I remember that I had coined a term called the financial body. My argument was that, like we have a physical body, a mental body, cognitive body, an emotional body, a spiritual body, and an energy body, we also had a financial body. Similarly, an organization had a legal, a human resource body, and a financial body. Back then, it was a great idea, but I had nothing to uphold my idea. However, after 2 decades of management consulting, 2000 extra books read, and the advancement in technology in the form of voice to text transcription and especially AI, I realized that now I can prove the existence of the financial body, both in the individual and in the organization. What I have done till now is not to prove that it existed or to create it out of thin air. No, all I did was to show that it existed. You might ask, so what? The answer will come later on. Please persevere. In the last section, I was able to show you that the financial body consisted of 3 systems. We also know them as the 3 principles of finance. First one is TVM, the second one is RRT, and the third one is CA. Those 3 systems, like the heart system, digestive system, and nervous system, are affected by the behavior of the person through a mechanism. For example, a person eats, then he chews it, it goes through the oesophagus as a bolus, then goes to the stomach, and so on. In this way, it has affected all the 3 systems in the form of digested food, blood, and electric circuits. Similarly, the financial transaction of the individual who buys a house creates source documents which are entered into the double entry system through journals. Then the trial balance is balanced, like the blood and food and electric signals go to various parts of the bodies. The data from the trial balance are segregated into 3 financial reports. From there, various ratios are made, and in this way, they affect the 3 principles of finance or systems of the financial body. Based on this analogy, my argument is that today, in the age of artificial intelligence, account and finance has reached a totally higher level. With the automation of the lower, tedious, rule-based task of accounting, and even the analytical, pattern-based, and synthesis-based task of financing, students of account and financing can now work on the financial body as it should always have been. It's a vision I had seen 20 years ago, but it's only now that it has a relevance. Mind you, the idea of financial body is not a cool idea only. In fact, it has immense practical value that I'm going to show you now. Because now we have this concept of financial body, the two diagrams below are possible and usable. Without the forebrain education we had on accounts and finance so far and AI, this section wouldn't even be possible. But now it is inevitable. What you are seeing in those diagrams, which are the same by the way, the first one being for the individual and the second one being for the organizations. At the first glance, they represent the grand web of finance. It's how the 5 components relate and interact with one another. It shows the various tools of finance, the various financial strategies. Then it shows how they affect the 3 principles of finance. Next, they show the various personality archetypes and the type of effect they have on the 3 principles, as well as their preferences for different tools and strategies. This diagram also talks about the cognitive biases that affect our financial decisions. It shows their effects on the different tools, strategies, and archetypes. Finally, the diagrams show how 3 external forces, namely economic conditions, market forces, government and regulatory factors, affect the various financial tools. Now you see this grand web or gigantic network contains almost everything you need to know on how to create and sustain wealth. However, even as the creator of this grand web, I found it was too complex and non-intuitive. This is where my subconscious mind brought to me what I had planted 20 years ago, the idea of the financial body. And then everything fell in place. Let me show you. So basically what I'm going to do now is to reinterpret the same grand web in terms of financial body. These 2 diagrams show how the financial body, made of 3 systems, namely TVM, RRT, and CA, is affected by the financial decisions and actions taken with regards to which tools to use and which strategies to use. Then these diagrams also tells that different type of personality archetypes will have different kind of financial bodies. It's like saying somebody might have a high metabolism while another will have a low one. The direction of the cause and effect between the personality type and the financial body could be one way or both 2 ways. But at this point, we'll have to ignore it for this case of simplicity. Then this diagram also talks about the effect of various cognitive biases on the archetypes, financial strategy, financial tools, and even external factors that ultimately affect the financial body. To further simplify this analogy, let me put it this way. It's like saying that the different kind of foods we eat, which is equivalent to the financial tools, affect our physical body. Then the different kind of lifestyles we follow, which is equivalent to the financial strategy, also affect our physical body. This follows that the diet we choose and the lifestyle we choose is affected by our own personality archetype, and that in turn affects our physical body. Then the choices we make in terms of diet and lifestyle is affected by the various cognitive biases and external factors. Now that's plain simple, right? This follows that the whole objective of account and finance is to have a healthy financial body, not a sick one and not a bankrupt one. Although you can read the content in the diagrams yourself, I'll go quickly through it in text here so that you'll be able to navigate through the grand web of finance. Table 1 for the individual show 7 tools, but there could be more. The first one is buying a house. In terms of the effect on the financial body, you see that in terms of time value of money, it is positive as it allows for good level of compounding. In terms of risk return trade-off, there is a certain volatility in some patients, while in others, like the city area, there is almost zero volatility because the demand is always going to grow up. Then in terms of capital allocation, once the money is put into a house, it's called illiquid, so you won't have much cash left. Almost the same holds true for the land, that it's even more illiquid because at least in the house you don't have to pay the rent, and that's extra cash, but you can't put a tent on your land and to save rent. Next is investing in shares. This allows for a high compounding of your money in terms of TVM. Again, it's higher volatility than buying land and house. The good side is the capital allocation, because shares can quickly be converted to cash when needed. Investing in fixed deposits and certificates of deposits is another tool. The TVM is very low but predictable. The RRT is very low in terms of volatility because it's government backed. Then the capital allocation is very high liquidity, as you can take out your money whenever you need after paying some penalty in case the maturity is not over. Then we have buying life insurance. The TVM is very low because the amount compounds at a lower rate. The RRT is very low risk. You'll get the money even in the case of death. And the capital allocation is very low because you can't take out the money when you need it unless you want to forfeit penalties. Next we have buying of gold and silver. Now the TVM is non-compounding, but it could have a very high resale value later on because of market forces. The RRT has a very low volatility, and it even acts as a hedge against inflation and market downturns. That's why so many people buy gold when the stock market is bearish. Again, the negative side is very low liquidity in terms of CA. Finally, we have investing as a limited partner. This has a very high compounding potential with long lockup periods, meaning that you won't have the money when you need it. That's a very low liquidity position in terms of capital allocation. But the worst part is the extremely high RRT, meaning that there is so much risk and you could lose all your money. Now that you understand the main point, which are the various financial tools, in table 2 you can see that there are the various financial strategies, namely the FIRE movement, the simple path to wealth, rich dad, poor dad philosophy, and balanced investing. I will just go very quickly through each of them because the table is very readable. So the FIRE movement allows for very high TVM. The RRT is very managed volatility, and the liquidity is high because it's extremely disciplined CA. The same goes for simple path to wealth. Rich Dad Poor Dad is a bit different. It offers very high compounding or full value of money, but the risk is very high because of the high volatility, and because it's so asset focused, you will have very little capital when you need it. Balanced investing strategy is a moderate in all the three systems of the financial body. Now in table 9, you can see how the various financial tools are affected by the external factors, which are economic conditions, market forces, and government regulatory factors. For example, buying a house only has a negative outcome when there is a recession, but most of the time it's a positive in terms of when the economy is growing. When there's an inflation, it can have both positive and negative effect. And in terms of market force, if there is a movement of industries in your city, then the property value tends to go down. But it could also be the reverse. If more industries come to your area, there will be a bigger demand. And if there is more people migrating to your place, then obviously the value of the house you own will go higher. So it's a very positive effect here. Then the government and regulatory factors can also affect it. If the interests go high, then it will negatively affect the house, and the same with the property taxes. So you can go through all the various tools and the similar effects on them by factors like inflation, taxes, and so on. Last table 11 is something that you just need to be aware of in order to have a healthy financial body. What he's just saying is that no matter how rational we think we are, we actually are not. We are affected by the various cognitive biases such as confirmation bias, anchoring bias, loss aversion bias, overconfidence bias, herd mentality bias, and recency bias. It affects the different types of personality archetypes listed below. The archetypes are found in table 7. So the guardian savior archetype will have a certain type of financial body that is characterized by high TVM, meaning that they want the money to compound a lot. Low RRT, meaning that they don't want to take risk. And disciplined CA, meaning that they are good savers. Then we have the spender and pleasure seekers, and their financial body is described as low TVM. They spend everything, so there's nothing to compound. High RRT, they are so hopeful that they'll hit the next best thing, and they are hitting the jackpot, so they are always living in high volatility state. Then they have a very undisciplined capital allocation, meaning that they basically borrow money not to invest but to spend, and that's a very bad situation. Then we have the empire builder and investor. Their financial bodies are characterized by high TVM, meaning that they are looking to compound their money very fast. Consequently, they love to take high risk, which are calculated in the case of such archetypes. And they just don't spend money, they spend it on assets. This is how they differ from the earlier tender pleasure seeker type. They are extremely disciplined. Finally, we have the innocent avoider archetype, which has a low TVM because they just don't think about investing and just keep the money in some saving account, if not under the bed. They live always in a state of high RRT, meaning that God knows when they'll be stuck with an emergency. They're living with a time bomb on. Finally, because they are so negative or averse with regards to money, almost saying that money is the root of all evil, they just have no capital allocation policies. You can see in the next column the matching financial strategy for each of them. Finally, coming back to table 11, what it is saying is that we have to add a pinch of salt in our confidence that despite knowing everything that we have, we'll still be affected by confirmation bias, meaning that we will believe what we want to believe even if it's proven to be false. And we'll be affected by anchoring bias, meaning that if you get stuck with something, it's hard for us to let go. Then we'll be affected by the loss aversion bias, meaning that we are just afraid to lose it all and we'll just keep hanging as long as possible. Right? Better judgment of quitting. Then there is the overconfidence bias, where we think that we are capable of more than we actually can. And there is the herd mentality, when we just follow the crowd, thinking it's safe and profitable. Finally, we have the recency bias, whereas we are affected by the latest news of either good or bad without putting it into context. In this way, you have learned how to recognize your financial body and understand how it is affected by our various financial decisions. Now that you know what are the legs, hands, eyes of the financial body for the individual, let's explore the same quickly for the organization. Look at table 3, the organization diagram. It shows the various financial tools. Now that you're already familiar with the various categorizations of the effect on the financial bodies, I will go very quickly through the diagram, knowing that you will read it on your own in more details as per your interest. When you talk about the organization, it's a bit different than in the individual in terms of financial tools. Whereas for the individual, financial tools were about investing the savings. In terms of the organization, the financial tools means ways to raise money in order to invest in assets for the company. A company cannot become rich like a person. The financial body of the organization thus is a bit different. The diet is the funds raised from the market, whereas in the individual's case, the diet is the investment of the savings made in the market. So the first financial tool used by organization to raise money is the commercial loan or bonds. The effect it has on the TVM system of the financial body is that it offers a fixed repayment time over time and shows a very clear future value. The RRT has very low volatility because the interest rate will be fixed usually. However, if the market becomes volatile and the rates increase for the depositors, then obviously it will increase for the corporates' loans. And in terms of capital allocation, the loans are focused because they are mainly used for expansion and R&D. Then there is the next tool to raise fund, which is equity financing, that is issuing stocks. Now the TVM offers very high compounding potential because the stocks usually tend to appreciate over time. The risked return trade-off is a shared volatility in terms of finance, but in terms of control, it's no longer fully your company and can't do whatever you want. You've got to get approval from the shareholders. That's another aspect. In terms of capital allocations, system of the financial body, issuing shares allows for large scale asset building for capital growth. Next tool used by companies is the credit from trade, meaning that you just play with the account payables. Suppliers usually provide credit period of up to 90 days when they sell you various products and services in business-to-business relationships, and that's the whole idea. The TVM is a short-term benefit, the RRT is very low, and the capital allocation is mainly used for operational purpose. Fourth one is the capital lease. TVM is very good because it allows the asset to be used right away. It is connected to the capital allocation because it doesn't require to put up front huge amount of money to buy the property. Instead, we can just lease it. This also allows for low volatility in terms of RRT. Then there are other tools like derivatives, which have a very high value of compounding in terms of TVM, but also are very highly volatile. And in terms of capital allocation, it has to be done very carefully. The objective is for risk management usually. Like for the individuals, every organization has got some typical financial strategies. As you can see in table 4, the cost leadership affects the financial body by causing the TVM to be slow compounding, RRT to have low volatility, and CA to be low cost focused. And the differentiation strategy allows for high compounding in terms of TVM. High volatility is the effect in terms of RRT, and the CA is value focused. The blue ocean strategy affects the financial body with a very high compounding, at the same time very high volatility, and that is possible through the singular focus in terms of asset allocation on a quantitative segment of a new market. The effect of merger acquisition on the financial body is almost the same as the blue ocean strategy in terms of TVM and RRT, but the capital allocation part is that it's used to buy new companies, new technologies, open new markets, and sometimes to buy talent. Like we had different personality archetypes for individual, for the organization also we have different personalities. Empire builder got a financial body with the characteristic of high TVM, high RRT, and very aggressive CA. Financial body of innovator is extremely long TVM, high RRT, concentrated CA. That of the steward is conservative TVM, low RRT, disciplined CA. That of the integrator is a long TVM, moderate RRT, and system-oriented CA. Finally, that of the caretaker is dual focus TVM, meaning he's focusing both on the financial and the social aspect. It's RRT and mission aligned CA. Other tables are similar to what we discussed earlier for the individual. When companies are affected by the cognitive biases, is why we have so many bankruptcies. The most famous one being that of Nokia, which was plagued by confirmation bias because it did not see the rise of smartphones. So Even Nokia's financial decision affected it, because instead of following a blue ocean strategy, it kept focusing on the different strategy. It means that it was focusing on having its financial body to maintain a medium PM RRT by allocating capital its current business model of reliable, strong, dumb phones. This brings us to table 10. So the equity financing of Nokia was affected by the market forces, which shifted from dumb phones to smartphones. Similarly, you can see how the various financial tools are affected by the three market forces here, as Nokia has been. Now that you know about the financial body, and you can recognize it, you must give yourself a pat on the back for having studied account and finance. You cannot only make your own financial body healthy, but we can make companies that you will be running in the future healthy and strong. Being rich or having a healthy financial body is no longer a matter of chance. Using the information from the grand web of finance, you realize how choice of tools and strategy affect financial body, and how your own personality archetype or that of your organization affects the choice of strategy. And you also accepted that you will be affected by the cognitive biases no matter how wise you think you are. And finally, there's nothing we can do or against the market forces, economic conditions, and government regulations that comprise the external factors. All we can do is try to anticipate them, and if they come, try not to sink, and if possible, ride the waves that they cause. I'm sure that this section has taken your love for the subject of account and financing to the next higher level.